Alright, today I'm going to show you how to play the Flash game that appeared in my creative nonfiction piece, Blooms. Funnily enough, while this piece was being workshopped, I actually got compliments because I had apparently invented a simple puzzle game that complemented the memory that I was retelling so perfectly. But no, it actually is a real game. It really is what I was playing that day. Now, I understand that it is an old game and not easily accessible anymore, so I thought that if anybody out there was curious to see it, I'd throw up this video and show you how it's done. And, maybe show off a bit if I'm still any good at it. I suppose we'll see. So, as you can see, it's got really simple little graphics here, flowers, butterfly, you can play. So it starts off with 3 flowers in this grid. You can click them and move them. The point is to try to line up 5 in a row of any given color. So I'm going to try to do that now. I like to try to focus on the ones that are the most numerous, because obviously you're going to be able to get to 5 a lot faster. And if you get rid of the ones that there are fewer of versus the ones that are numerous of, it's just not great strategy in my experience. So when you get 5 in a row, they disappear. It's worth noting that you can go vertically or horizontally or diagonally, so that these 2 purple ones over here can form a row of 5. It's also worth noting that you can only move flowers to a place that there is a clear path to, and that does not include diagonals. So if, for example, I wanted to move this pink one over here, I can't, because there is no open horizontal or vertical space through which I can move to get that. So I need to move things out of the way to create clear paths. And that is another big part of where the strategy comes in. It's often better to create lines along the edges, because that'll keep your center paths open for flowers to move more freely. Now, I probably am not going to do too well in this particular game because I made a mistake on purpose to show you that path rule. But we're going to play it out and see how it goes. I remember that when I first started playing this game, I would get about 100 points, maybe a little over 100 points. Oh, and here it is worth mentioning as well that you can get more than 5 if it lines up that way. So you can get 6, 7. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, you can actually get an entire row if you line up 4 and 4, and the one that makes 5 is right in the middle there. But I would not recommend doing that unless you've got a really particular pattern going on with your RNG. So, like I said, trying to keep the flowers on the edges. Sometimes, though, you just want to play them where they are, because with them randomly appearing, if they randomly appear in a row of 2 or 3, it's probably better just to keep them there, fill in along the edges. So these, I can't remember how many of those I moved and how many were there to start with, but works out to keep them where they are. And these I like to get rid of because they can confuse me, because there you see there's only room for 4 here diagonally. So when I'm glancing around, it looks like I've got a diagonal going, but I really don't. So I like to break those up just for my own personal reference. So as I was saying before, when I first started, I would typically get around 100 points. I think I got up to about 300 points on average in the height of when I was still playing this. We will see how many I get this round. Yeah, I didn't want to put that blue one there because it would cut off my access to the purple ones. And sometimes, even though I could have kept that out there and hoped for 6. There aren't any other blue ones that are available. Sometimes it's better just to clear the path because you're taking your chance that a flower could randomly appear in one of these spots instead and block what you were planning. So if you can clear something out, it's typically best to clear it out, not wait around hoping to get lucky. Sometimes you also want to prioritize ones that are going to free a piece that you need. Like if I finish up these pinks, it'll free this green. So there we go, I got the pinks and the greens. And then I also freed up these whites over here while I was at it. Now there's no yellows available. So at this point, when the board starts getting really crowded, you have to start making some difficult decisions. I've got a lot of reds over here, but none of them are in a particularly good pattern. Of course, if I move that red, I could maybe get these purples. And there are enough purples that I could finish that off. So I think I'm going to try that out. I'm going to go for diagonal with the reds and clear out the purples. So there we go. Then I'm going to put this green down here. And I think I have saved myself for the moment. So I think in the piece, one of the things I mentioned is the idea that this could theoretically keep going on forever. I don't know if that's actually true if you factor in all the probabilities, but the point is that as long as you keep disappearing flowers, you disappear 5 or more at a time, and they only appear at a rate of 3 at a time. So it at least makes it seem like you could keep going if you plan things out well enough, and that's one of the things that I think makes this game really compelling for me. This idea that you can always do just a little bit better next time. There's skill and strategy, but also a bit of luck. So if you fail, you can just say, oh, I got unlucky that time. Sometimes flowers also appear right where you need them. Let's see. I need that white one. There we go. I suppose it's also a little bit like Tetris that way too. You know, in Tetris, you can keep clearing out rows, and then when it fills to the top, you're done. As soon as the garden is filled, that's when this game is over. And of course, as the garden fills up, it becomes more and more difficult to plant things where you want because you don't have any paths anymore. So similar to Tetris in that way too, because when you get to the top of Tetris, obviously it gives you less time to get things where you want them to go. This one is a bit more calm, I think, because you have as much time as you want to plan out your moves and there's no penalty. You do have to think about what you're doing, and it does still get more difficult as you approach the end. Now I see I'm up over 178 now, which is really good. We'll see if I can get over 200. Don't have any whites. I'm going to move that blue. I don't have a lot of blues right now, but they are in a good spot to get out of the way and clear out the middle. I'm going to try something similar with purples, even though there's not enough room. So I have to finish the blues before I can finish the purples. But luckily I've got my white. Now I've got a blue. And now I can free up room with the purples. There's a good long line of greens there. That's very good. Now this is tricky because I could move that one down there, but I would have to move 2 flowers out of the way to finish that row. And I don't really like that. I think I'm going to focus on reds instead and hope for another place I can move that purple and maybe finish that out if I I'm lucky enough to still have it open later on after I do that. And here also I'm going to plan ahead for getting rid of that purple because I can see that I'm going to next move. Well, see, now I can't, and that's the randomness. But luckily another one appeared. So there we go. Now I can move this yellow, and there's a yellow over there, which I was hoping for. Obviously that's also lucky that it didn't, get rid of the one spot that I needed. And now I don't have any more reds available, so I will have to wait a bit. And there we go. Decisions about which red one I want to use. I feel like this one and this one are pretty equal, but this one's 3 in rather than close to the corner. And the corners are the most out of the way, so I'm going to go with this one. And this purple one is out in the middle of everything, so I really want to get rid of it. Because that purple's so close, it's nearly a sure thing that flower won't pop up there next turn. So I'm going to use that move. And again, that one's close. It's always good to move ones that are farther away first, because there's a greater chance of their paths getting blocked off as opposed to one that's close. And I see him up over 200. Not keeping very good track, but that's the sort of thing that happens when you're planning out the moves. You spend a lot of time looking at the grid and not much time at your score. And that's blocked off for now. And this is where I'm honestly just gonna push it out of the way and into that corner. I can get rid of those, so I will. I do prefer horizontals or verticals to diagonals, because when you clear out a diagonal, it doesn't necessarily clear out a path because you can't move to this spot, for example, because diagonals don't work. Whereas if I cleared out horizontals and verticals, it always clears out a path at least where the flowers had been. And I need to clear out. No good spot for this, I don't think. Sometimes it works to hedge your bets and say, well, maybe this will open up, maybe that'll open up. When it's late in the game, it is kind of wishful thinking, because obviously there's a lot in the way before that would ever open up. This one, maybe, if I get lucky. We'll see. I'm going to move this one here instead of there, because a line of 4 is a better chance if your plans don't work out. Now I've got 3 separated areas. Not too good. And that is pretty much inaccessible, so that diagonal probably isn't going to work. I'm going to try taking a chance over here that I can free up this line of whites and hopefully get lucky that one will appear in the path, but I don't know. We'll see. Hey, look at that. Sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. I'm going to try a similar thing and hope that that spot stays open for the yellows. Alright, but I am rapidly approaching the end. I think I am going to try going for those reds now, just because they are there. I'm going to try going for the pinks, because again, they're right there. But it's going to be tricky, because all I can do at this point is try to move things out of the way, so that if the right flower appears there, it will pop up. But at this point, the game is effectively lost, and I'm probably going to end up right below the 300 mark, which is too bad. Oh well, maybe if I hadn't done that little bit of sabotage in the beginning, right? And that's not going to get me anything. There's the game. So yeah, that's just a little playthrough of the game. I hope that was entertaining or at least interesting for you. And have a good day.